Okay. Yep. All right. So the steps for solving ax to the fourth plus bx squared plus c equals 0. First thing we're going to do is we will let u equal x squared, and put in the equation a u squared plus bu plus c equals 0. All right. Okay, next thing we will do is we will take this equation. We've taken it down from a fourth degree to a second degree. We're going to use techniques we know for solving quadratic equations. We're going to solve for u. All right? Now, in your solutions, after you've solved for u, you've gotten two answers for u equals this and u equals that. In your solutions, replace x squared back for u, and then solve for x. So that's our plan. Okay? We don't have a technique necessarily for fourth degree, but we do have a quadratic plan. So we're going to kind of convert this to a quadratic and then come back to it with the x squareds. All right. So first, example 1. X to the fourth minus 19x squared plus 48 equals 0. We're going to let u equal x squared. All right? So let's do that. Now, if u is x squared, that means u squared is x to the fourth. Everybody good with that? So where this x to the fourth is, we're putting u squared minus 19u. We're taking the x squared out, putting the u in, plus 48 equals 0. It is now time to solve this quadratic equation. U squared minus 19u plus 48 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to use factoring. This will factor. Two things that multiply to 48 and add to negative 19. I don't know if anything comes to mind. Sixteen and 3. Both of them negative, right? You said? All right, very good. 16 times 3 is 48. 16 plus 3 is 19. So if we make both of them negative, we're good. All right, nice job. So this is where we're going to split this up so we can factor by grouping. And I'll have u squared minus 16u minus 3u plus 48 equals 0. Grouping u is the GCF here. U squared over u is u. Negative 16u over u is negative 16. Okay, 3 times 16 is 48, right? So I'm going to use negative 3 right here. If that's negative, I'm going to make that negative. Then I have u. 48 divided by negative 3 is negative 16. And now I'm ready to write the factored form. The common is u minus 16. The front part's u minus 3. That equals 0. And then solve. U minus 16 equals 0, or u minus 3 equals 0. I get u equals 16 here. If I add 3 to both sides here, I get u equals 3 here. All right. It is now, we're not solving for u though, right? There's no u in here. We put the u in there. We're solving for x. So this is where we take the u's out. We put the x squareds back in, right? We did this at the beginning. So x squared equals 16, or x squared equals 3. All right. I'm going to take the square root of x squared plus or minus square root of 16. That's x. What is the square root of 16? 4. X is plus or minus 4. And then I get the square root of x squared equals, and I always go plus or minus. There's a positive square root and a negative square root. I want you to just think about this for just a moment. Why do we do plus or minus? Because if I put 4 in for x, 4 times 4 is 16, right? But is negative 4 times negative 4 also 16? Negative 4 times negative 4? It is. So that's why we have both solutions written down here. That's why we always do this. This I can't simplify anymore. Square root of 3. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to take one more step and just write all 4 solutions. 4, negative 4. Square root of 3, negative square root of 3. So there are the solutions. Any questions? Kenan? Right here? Well, then to here, right? Well, I got that from that. Okay? And I got that because those were the front parts. These u minus 16s were the same. U minus 3 is that front part. Got it? Okay. All right. We're going to do example 2. We're going to let u equal x squared again, which implies u squared equals x to the 4th. So I'm going to put u squared right here minus 13u, take the x squared out, put the u in, minus 300 equals 0. All right. Now, I'm going to try solving. I'm going to factor what times what is negative 300, and the same two numbers adding to negative 13. This one's a little, well, I thought the first one was tricky too. 300. You know what? What do you got? What are the two numbers in your head right now? What? 10 times 30? Okay. I don't think we're going to be able to get 13 out of that, but we're a little closer now. With 10 and 30 is, Lily, did you think of something?
I was going to say,
It's got to be 30. If you're going to use 10, it's got to be 30. Okay? Ethan?
25 and 9? No, 12.
Okay. 12? 25 times 12. Okay. Punch that in if you need to, but I think he's got something there. I'll wait for confirmation. Okay, the thing, 25 times 12 is 300, I mean. Now, how do we get, and we need negative, so one of these has got to be negative. Which one? Look at this one. Which one should be negative?
25.
The big one should be negative, yeah. All right, because the adding is negative. All right. So let's take u squared minus 25u plus 12u minus 300 equals 0. And I'm going to group these two. That's u times u minus 25. Now 12 times 25, so that's going to work. 12 is a GCF for 12u and negative 300. And I'll get u minus 25 here equals 0. The common is u minus 25, and the front parts are u plus 12 equals 0. U minus 25 equals 0, or u plus 12 equals 0. Add 25 on both sides here. You get u equals 25. Subtract 12 from both sides here. You get u equals negative 12. U equals 25, or u equals negative 12. And we're not searching for u, though, right? We solved this equation. We want to solve this equation. So we're going to take u out and put x squared in. X squared equals 25, or x squared equals negative 12. You with me? Take the square root of both sides. Square root of x squared equals plus or minus the square root of 25, and that is x, and that's plus or minus 5. Agreed? Square root of 25 is 5. Do the same thing here. Square root of x squared equals plus or minus the square root of negative 12. Okay, I'm going to break that down real quick. Negative 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 2 times 3. Square root of negative 12, that's the square root of negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 3. What's the square root of negative 1? Okay, there's no real square root. I. Yes. Square root of negative 1 is I. We're remembering. Yay. And got a pair of 2's. They can come out. The 3's got to stay. I'm going to rewrite this as 2 square root of 3 I. Some people like to put the I right here between the 2 and the radical. And that's fine too. I'm going to write it this way. And I'm going to write x equals plus or minus 2 square root of 3 I. And then my solutions, listed individually, are 5, negative 5, 2 radical 3i, and negative 2 radical 3i. Any questions on that one? All right. Let's look on this last example. We're going to do the same thing I've done in the first thing. I'm going to let u equal x squared on this one as well. And u squared equal x to the 4th. And I'm going to write 4u squared minus 5u minus 6 equals 0. Okay. Now I've got a number in front of u squared this time. And 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. See that little... We just haven't had that yet. And then let's add. We've got to find two numbers that add to multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 5. What you got? Tell me. Nice. Okay. Let's set this up. 4u squared minus 8u plus 3u minus 6 equals 0. All right. 4 and they each have a u, right? 4 goes into 4 and 8, they each have a u. If I take 4u out of 4u squared, I have 1u left, and then I have minus 2. Negative 8u divided by 4u is negative 2. And then when I group 3u minus 6, it looks like 3 is the GCF. I get u minus 2 here. That's equal to 0. The common is u minus 2. And then I have 4u plus 3 is the fronts, and that equals 0. So u minus 2 equals 0, or 4u plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to add 2 to both sides on this side and have u equals 2. I'm going to subtract 3, have 4u equals negative 3, and divide by 4, and I have u equals negative 3/4. Okay, that's u. We've solved for u. We need to solve for x, right? X squared equals 2, or x squared equals negative 3/4. I'll take the square root of x squared equals plus or minus the square root of 2. And that won't simplify, so we'll stop right there with that. The square root of x squared equals the square root of negative 3/4, plus or minus square root of negative 3/4. That is plus or minus square root of negative 3 over square root of 4. Remember that property where you can split up a fraction? Now, negative 3 is negative 1 times 3. Now, what's the square root of negative 1? I. So it's I times square root of 3. So I've got plus or minus. I'm going to write the I last. Square root of 3i. What's square root of 4? 2. Okay. So I've got my answers. I'm going to write them out separately. Square root of 2, negative square root of 2, positive square root of 3 over 2i, negative square root of 3 over 2i.